I, 52 male, have two sons, a 36-year-old and another nearly adult. My youngest is a senior in high school and my oldest is a dentist. When my youngest was 5, I got a promotion and made more money than ever. My wife and I decided to start saving up for a college fund for our youngest because we couldn't do that for our oldest. Since early this month, our youngest has been starting to get acceptance letters, and so far he's gotten 2. He was so excited and we were all happy for him. He's still undecided about what he wants to do and where he wants to go. He told me it was either something dealing with the medical field or him becoming a lawyer. Our son received his second acceptance letter last week, and he was overjoyed, as were my wife and I. My wife decided now would be a perfect time to tell our son about the college fund, and I agreed. When we informed him, he was surprised at how much it was and asked us if we were serious. We informed him that we were, and doubted it would cover all of his expenses, but it would help a lot. We encouraged him to try to get a job to put money in there. He agreed with us and told us he'd start looking for one and appreciated what we did for him. Seeing him smile from ear to ear was the best thing in the world. We were happy to see our son happy, and it made us even happier that he was thrilled to tell his brother about him getting another acceptance letter. My oldest son called me shortly after the conversation with his brother, and I could tell he was crying. He asked me if I was alone and if his brother was near, and I told him that I was alone and that he wasn't. I was concerned about him crying and asked him what was wrong. My oldest son continued to cry and told me that he was tired of my brother getting everything handed to him. He told me it's hard to pretend to be happy for his brother when he had to work for everything he had. I was taken aback by this and I apologized to him. I told him how we couldn't afford many things that we could now and that we were just trying to give his younger brother things we couldn't afford when we had him. My oldest then asked me why we kept him if we couldn't afford to keep him. He then said that watching his brother get everything he wanted as a child hurt. He said that if we couldn't afford him, we should have just given him up for adoption. Hearing him say that hurt me beyond belief. I actually started crying too because although his mother and I couldn't give him everything we gave his brother, we still tried our best to shower him with our love and support. Hearing him say how he'd rather be adopted hurt me to my core. I tried apologizing again and explaining how much his mother and I love him, but he just hung up in my face. This honestly hurt me more, and I tried to call him again multiple times to explain myself, but he just sent me a text saying, "I will call you back when I'm ready to talk. Please stop calling me." I told my wife what our son said to me, and she started to cry as well. She tried to call him, but I stopped her as I informed her that he didn't want us to talk to him. It's been a week, and we still haven't spoken to our son. We usually talk every 2 or 3 days. My wife and I have been crying ourselves to sleep lately, and I don't know what to do. So, the kids are 19 years apart, so when the youngest was 5 and they started the college fund, the oldest was 24 and could have used some financial support. Why, when he was 24 and you got a promotion, didn't you want to help your eldest? If you've saved so much money, why not give your eldest half to pay off his student loans? Oh wait, because he isn't the golden child. Jesus, you and your wife suck. Exactly. My wife is a therapist, and one of the things they like to say is, if it's hysterical, it's historical, meaning the older son is likely upset about multiple instances of imbalanced treatment, whether intentional or not. It's not about the money or gifts or anything material in a greedy sense to me. It's the fact that parents don't see you as equal, and the lack of financial support is a direct reflection of this. This story is about how OP feels, with no attempt to think about how his son feels. Agreed. The older son was the one they should have been helping. My student loans come with massive interest that I'm still paying off. Do you know what would have happened if they'd helped even a little at that time? Interest on $10,000 is a lot less than interest on $20,000. Dude, the choice to set aside funds for your youngest 13 years in advance instead of helping your oldest, who could have benefited from those same funds at that moment, definitely makes you the idiot. Good luck mending this, because I doubt you can. So I, 23 male, am dating Kelly, 25 female. Kelly has 2 very lovely mothers, Gina, 64, and Stacy, 71, with whom I get along quite well. The problem relevant to this post is that Stacy has a history of lying about things, both serious and non-serious, which Kelly has complained to me about a few times. While the lying does bother me, mainly because it hurts Kelly's feelings and stresses her out, Kelly says she's trying to let it go and has just come to accept it as part of her mother's personality. I went to run errands with Stacey last week, and when she forgot her wallet, I thought it was a genuine mistake. She's in her 70s. She's forgetting things. It's no big deal. I'll buy her the couple things she needs and she'll get it back to me when she can. It wasn't until later that day, when I was alone with Kelly and recounting my day, that she stopped me and asked if Stacey had me pay for something. I said yes, and Kelly explained that she does this to everybody if they agree to go with her somewhere and she has or wants to buy something. She claims she forgot her wallet, asks you to pay and promises to pay you back, but rarely follows through. This was upsetting to hear, as I also don't like to be lied to and hadn't experienced Stacey lying to me yet. It's also not even about money for Stacey, as she has quite a bit to her name, no debt, and Gina pays most of the bills. Anyway, yesterday, Stacey asked me to come with her again for errands because she needed to pick up some things, and they were too heavy for her to handle. I agreed, and before we walked out the door, I said, "Oh wait, I forgot something," and went and grabbed my jacket. I asked her if she was sure she also had everything she needed, specifically listing her wallet, keys, phone, and she said yes. I asked if she'd checked before we stepped outside, and she said yes again. So on we went, and after the initial errands, we stopped at the drugstore. She asked me to grab her something while I was inside, claiming she'd forgotten her wallet again. The conversation went like this. Me: "I thought you said you had everything you needed before we left." Her: "I did, I guess I was wrong." Me: "You said you checked." Her: "I did." Me: "So did you lie to me about having your wallet, or did you lie to me about checking for it?" Her: "I don't know what you're talking about." Me: "Do you really not have it with you, or are you lying about it?" She's avoiding people because she's both embarrassed and angry. If you wanted her to rethink her habits, then you've succeeded. Stacey may not even realize what game she's playing. When she says, "I forgot my wallet," what she means is, "Please buy this for me." Gina has figured this out, as has Kelly. They either pay or don't. I suggest you do the same in the future, although I suspect it may be a while before she tries this again with you. Good for you for refusing to be scammed a second time. Stacey messed around and found out. Be prepared to be treated badly and or be iced out by her from now on. My grandmother was a chronic liar, and at least in my experience, just not playing along worked as well, if not better, than confronting her. Just, "Nope, I don't have money to buy you something," a few times and moved on. Just wise to make sure you're not creating drama for your girlfriend. I'm 30 female getting married this year, and the wedding is going to be smaller. So those we want to have there are invited and know when the wedding will take place and are confirmed to be free. Invites will go out in the summer, but unofficially the people who will be invited have been invited. It was important to have those closest to us present, and we didn't want a hugely expensive wedding. This has become a problem because I did invite my grandmother, paternal, and she has a relationship with my estranged father, while I do not. Background is needed here. When my brother and I were 4, we lost our mom. Our mom's twin sister helped our dad out a lot after mom died. We lived with her for 7 or 8 months while our dad was spiraling and losing control of himself. She was there for our first day of school. She fed us, clothed us, and protected us a lot during the period we lived with her. And once Dad pulled himself together and took us back, she was still the person taking care of us after school and on Saturdays or Sundays when our dad would work. She was essential to us. She and my mom were orphans, so it was just her for the maternal side, and Dad's side weren't close by and didn't play much of a role in those earlier childhood memories, but our aunt did. Then my dad got engaged and life changed fast. My dad's wife didn't want our aunt around anymore. She wanted to become our mom, and she didn't feel like my aunt would make that easy on her. So my dad and his wife, fiancée at the time, moved us out of state, and we moved around a lot so my aunt couldn't get any visitation rights to us. After that, we didn't get to see or speak to her. I know she fought for us. She did track us down a couple of times and we moved again. We missed her like crazy, and over the decade that followed, Dad tried to erase all traces of our aunt and mom and attempted to create a little nuclear family with the 4 of us. But we hated him and we hated her, and when we were teenagers, we tracked down our aunt, and at 18, we moved out of our dad's house and ended all contact with them. My grandmother was aware of all this, and when we were kids, she was understanding and attempted to advocate for us to see our aunt. But once my dad found out I was getting married, through a person who actually wasn't invited to the wedding but knew I was engaged, he was talking to my grandmother, and he told her how badly he and his wife wanted to come and how sad they are that they've been removed so entirely from our lives. My grandmother says they should be invited, or at least my father, because he's still my father. I told her it wouldn't happen and refused to compromise with just him. So she's unhappy and she said I'm taking things too far and doing what they did. Only I know how harmful it can be in the long term. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, sorry, but Grandma doesn't get a say. She didn't experience having a significant, consistent, loving person ripped from her life as a child just because her dad and his new wife were jealous. She doesn't know how it feels to have a family forced on you and your only family tied to your deceased mom taken away. Nope, her little unhappiness that your father is not invited to the wedding is nothing compared to the unhappiness he caused. And your father is sad he and his wife are not invited. Too bad, they made that happen for themselves. I can hardly believe the lengths they went to keep your aunt away. I've had to move several times in my life for normal reasons. It's not fun, especially when you're a kid and you must go to a new school, make new friends and plug into a different culture. To be honest, your parents are acting like kidnappers who move every time they think the cops are catching up with them. By the way, I bet a good amount of money that your grandma helped keep their and your location a secret. I throw them all out and live your best life, but expect to hear from them again when you have children. I, 37 male, live with my wife Jen, 37, and our 2 daughters, young teen and pre-tween. Last weekend, my wife went out for the day with our oldest daughter, whom I'll call Emily for this story, while I stayed home with our youngest. 3 hours after they left, I got a call from Emily. She was very upset on the phone and was crying. She explained that they went to a clothing store together, they split up to look at different sections, and now Jen is nowhere to be found, and her phone is going to voicemail. She'd asked an employee to make a speaker announcement, but no one had come forward, and Jen had been gone for around an hour. I told Emily not to panic and that I would come straight down. When I arrived, Jen was still gone, and I couldn't see her car in the parking area. We searched for Jen in all the stores nearby in case she went in one of them, and I also tried calling her. Around 40 minutes later, Jen called me and said she was on her way back to the clothing store. I asked where she'd been, and she said she drove to another nearby store that she wanted to go to. I asked why she didn't bring Emily, or at least tell her that she was leaving, and she said that she didn't expect it to take a long time or for Emily to even notice that she was gone. Emily has been distraught and avoiding Jen, and she's still very upset. When we got home, Jen and I argued as I said she was irresponsible for going away and leaving Emily in the store without telling her. Jen says I just want to treat Emily like a baby, and that she's old enough to be on her own in a store. I asked Jen why she didn't answer her phone, and she said she accidentally put it on Do Not Disturb. Jen is angry that I called her irresponsible and says that what she did is nowhere close to being an irresponsible parent. I know I can be overprotective of my kids, but we do live in a high crime area, and it makes me very angry that Emily was left feeling scared. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I might spend too much time here, but your wife didn't say anything to your daughter because she wanted to make sure your daughter didn't ask to tag along. I'm immediately suspicious of what your wife was actually doing. I can't imagine being with anyone at a store, leaving and driving to another store and not telling them, let alone a freaking child. Forget for a second whether or not she should have left the kid at the store alone. How the bleep do you not text them and say, hey, I'm going to X store, I'll be back in a bit? Unless you don't want to risk them saying, oh, I'll come with you. The biggest thing you're missing is that literally no one leaves their kid alone for 2 hours to go to a store down the street, and they don't conveniently put their phone on DND when they do that. There's a strong possibility that she's either cheating on you or, less likely but still possible, meeting a dealer of some sort. Not the idiot, OP, but you're dense as heck. I, 27 female, have an older sister, Cara, 45. We have a significant age gap, but we're still quite close, and she's basically like another parent to me. We got much closer when our mom died when I was 14. Cara basically raised me and is very overprotective, but in the past I've asked her to give me some space. I've always been career-focused and dated casually with nothing long-term. Most of my friends are married and some have kids, so we're all at different life stages. My one and only serious relationship beyond 2 months was with my ex-fiancé Ted. However, we broke up last year. I struggled to move on and only recently started casually dating. Still, I miss Ted, so I can't commit to anything. Cara helped me through the breakup, but she wanted me to get back together with Ted as she really liked him and even suggested that I pass up the job for him. Cara wants me to settle down like she has, and I think we're too different. She's a stay-at-home mom to 3 kids and basically raising a 4th as her husband doesn't lift a finger around the house and will kick up a fuss if the house is messy or there's no food on the table. I don't like my brother-in-law at all, and I've encouraged Cara to discuss getting him to help out around the house. Cara called me again last night to encourage me to start dating again and said she'd set up a blind date for me. Honestly, I feel that's the only thing we've spoken about for the past few weeks. She said she just wanted me to be happy like she was, but I then told her that her life was my biggest nightmare. She got upset and said I was being too harsh. I mean, yeah, you are the idiot for saying it like that. Your sister raised you while also dealing with your mother dying. That's a lot, OP. Your sister probably did a lot more for you than you will know. To say her life is a nightmare is absolutely awful. It sounds like you want her to step back, but it'll take a while when she feels responsible for you in your mother's stead. She seems to know her husband is an issue. This could be her trying to convince herself it's not that bad. Why don't you really talk about your concerns about brother-in-law? Change the dynamic. If you want her to stop acting like a mom, then start acting like a sister yourself. Disagree. Everyone's the idiot here. Saying your life is my worst nightmare is not more awful than pressuring someone to reunite with their ex. Constantly pressuring them to date or marry or reproduce because you think that is necessary for happiness. Discouraging someone from doing their chosen career because you think they should reunite with their ex and setting up a blind date without their consent. Being rude to her sister? Sure, it's not ideal. However, it's not a totally unreasonable response to constant harassment. If Big Sis doesn't understand and respect OP's life choices by now, she is well into idiot territory herself. I'm sure she has her best interests at heart, but they're both grown women. Time to mind your own business for a while.